Hi, this is Cal Harrison for Information Security Media Group. Welcome to today's session entitled Get Value from Insurance Process Orchestration with AI, featuring Andrew Kearns, Insurance Industry Lead at Appian, and Celia Wanderley, Chief Innovation Officer for Data Engineering and AI at Bits and Glass. Before I introduce our speakers, just a bit of background on this session. AI can help insurers overcome long-standing data ingestion and underwriting challenges. Our experts from Appian and Bits and Glass will discuss ways to combine low code with AI for better process outcomes and share real stories of insurance process improvement in underwriting claims and risk management. Before we begin, let me tell you a bit about Information Security Media Group. We currently publish more than 24 international media sites, Bank Info Security and CU Info Security for financial services, Gov Info Security for the public sector, and Healthcare Info Security for the medical community, plus Info Risk Today, Data Breach Today, and Careers Info Security. Each of these sites is dedicated to providing education and news on information security. With over 1 million members registered to our websites, we have created a true information source tackling the key issues of interest to our unique audience. If you have questions for our speakers during this session, please submit them via the chat on your screen, as well as any technical issues during the webinar. In addition, I want to emphasize that the content being presented in today's webinar is copyrighted material and is meant for today's session and individual study purposes only. If you or your institution would like to use the information presented in today's session or are looking for customized training education, please contact us. Next, a little about our sponsors. Appian is the process company. We deliver a software platform that helps organizations run better processes that reduce costs, improve customer experiences, and gain a strategic edge. Committed to client success, we serve many of the world's largest companies across industries. Our co-sponsor, Bits and Glass, empowers the world's most forward-thinking companies to adapt and navigate a rapidly changing hyper-automation landscape. As a trusted global boutique consulting firm, Bits and Glass combines a personalized, client-focused approach with the ability to scale and deliver impactful solutions globally. Bits and Glass designs, creates, and manages data and AI-driven processes tailored to solve each client's unique business challenges so they can build digital agility into their future. Now, our first speaker, Andrew Kearns, Insurance Industry Lead at Appian, is a seasoned insurance executive with 15 years of experience leading teams in product management, innovation, and distribution. Next, Celia Wanderley, Chief Innovation Officer for Data Engineering and AI at Bits and Glass, is a visionary technology leader with 25 plus years of experience driving large-scale digital transformation. Welcome, Andy, Celia. The industry is often perceived as slow to adopt new technologies. Why is this the case?
Well, it's interesting because insurance has been around a long time. The first insurance policy in the United States was written in the 1600s. And insurance was very quick to adopt technology in the 50s and 60s when computing came on board. And they had to be because actuaries use so much data and information to make their decisions. And so one reason that insurance has a stigma of being slow to adopt new technology is they have a lot of legacy technology. And legacy technology replacement is not easy. It's not cheap. And one of the greatest things that you can give your customers in the insurance space is stability. They need stability in their price. They need stability in their renewal experience. They need stability across the board. Nobody really likes to shop for insurance. And so when you throw legacy system replacement in the mix, you bring a lot of uncertainty. You bring a lot of instability into the equation. And so there's a lot of risk there. So risk mitigation is obviously something that's core to insurance. And so the stigma that the industry is slow to adopt technology has a lot of really valid reasons. The other part is they haven't really been slow to invest in and to try new technology. The insurtech space has received billions and billions of dollars of investment over the last decade or so, and even going back 15 years or so, most of it given by large insurance companies, but they've done a lot of their innovation in silos. And so that siloed innovation is really complex to then wrap into the organization. And in a large organization with billions of dollars of premium collecting, the prioritization process of asking for innovation money versus asking for run the business money is often very complicated. And it pushes us and pushes the industry into a scenario where it's easier to opt for run the business and prioritize that over looking into innovation. But digital transformation has been going on in the space in the industry for a long time. It will continue to go. I'll go forward, and there are some really interesting things that are happening in the space for sure.
Really good point. Celia, any thoughts?
Yeah, I love what what Andy said there. I mean, being very large organizations, in some cases global organizations too, right? And being subject to a regulatory environment that may be different in the various regions that they operate in. That adds a level of complexity to that. In some cases touching those systems, as you said, that are working and where you're running a business is a decision that needs to be made very carefully. It's like, it could be a career a limiting decision for those leaders that are responsible for making them. So I think it's also part of it goes two ways. I think it's part of the technology industry needing to be maybe a little bit more assertive and painting a clear picture of what the opportunities and what are the safe ways that technology can be applied in this space and for this industry, to make sure that organizations and leaders in those organizations feel comfortable that making these moves is not going to lead to major maybe implications in regulatory penalties or reputational damage, which could be quite significant commercially, right? So I think it's a two-way conversation as well. It is, how do we as technology industries also help those clients see a more clear approach to innovation.
Yeah, clearly modernization, is a big goal of the whole insurance industry. And Andy, tell us, how do low-code platforms accelerate modernization, especially for workflows and insurance? And what types of processes are best suited?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, the reality of it is insurance is a business of processes. The core components of insurance, underwriting is a process, claims is a process, and those are core key competencies that have to be very, very well done within the insurance space. A low code is much faster to deploy, and it's easier to do incremental innovation with low code. And so one concept that that a lot of low code providers use, but Appian is specifically adept at, is instead of rip and replace a legacy system, it's more like wrap and replace, or even wrap and extend, where a low code environment can come and can sit on top of a core system. It can be what we call an agility layer that can then bring together many disparate data sources across an organization, and it can facilitate and smooth the process of moving off of that legacy system, transitioning the legacy system into the cloud, or it can extend the life of that legacy system because you now have up-to-date and automated workflows that can sit on your core systems and continue to read right through your own data sources where you don't have to move data. So it makes it much simpler to do sort of legacy replacement, as well as keep those legacy systems going. And then it gives you opportunity to be to play in AI, for instance, to play in RPA, to play in much more automated systems, and then to consolidate and aggregate data from not just internal sources, but then external sources, which are already happening. It just brings it all into a simpler single pane of glass view. And that's really what we try to accomplish for our insurance customers.
All right, and then next, we've obviously AI is been in the headlines. There's a lot of buzz around it. There's a lot of noise around AI and particularly generative AI these days. Do you agree or disagree with some of the statements that have been made about this new technology? And what are your key concerns for the insurance industry?
And maybe I'll take that one, Kyle. I definitely agree that there's, I mean, you mentioned noise. There's definitely a lot of hype, around this technology, particularly generative AI. And it is like it's hard for a week to go by, if not, a day to go by, where there isn't like a new large language model or a variation of, that theme that gets talked about. And in a very impressive way, right? So I think we are seeing in the last 2 years, we're seeing a shift and a pace in how these developments have come to life that's really unprecedented. That, of course, being in this space, of course, that's something that really excites me because I can see the possibilities of how that could be applied to businesses and especially like in the insurance industry that we work so closely with. But there are things, there are concerns as well. I think one of the things that we always have the conversation with clients around is really their data foundations and data quality. So AI is still, good AI is still a factor of good data, right? And in many cases, maybe there hasn't been enough attention paid to what those data foundations will look like, and which could be quite concerning as that data gets fed into building different models and to driving decision making, even if the decision making is not fully automated. If it is, let's say, with a human in the loop, which is I would say like for the most part, the pattern that we see, you could be driving conclusions that are not necessarily the ones you would want to. So I think it's really important to really pay attention to the data foundations and starting with data quality, because those will drive those models. The regulatory environment, I think, as many people would have seen, like even just a couple of weeks ago, we've had the Action Summit in Paris, and world leaders and big technology leaders there trying to drive the conversation around what are the regulatory, the ethical implications, the link to innovation, or that around AI and generative AI. And a number of those, I think, haven't necessarily been, there isn't, the standards and the regulation hasn't had time, to settle in. I think that doesn't mean we need to stifle innovation or stop the adoption of this technology, but it does mean we need to be, having like a very good understanding of what the environment looks like, so that we can mitigate any of the risks that brings to the business. The other one is, I would say, a little bit of the silver bullet, or the overpromising of the capabilities of what technology can offer, right? So I think anytime that we're working together with Appian and of our clients, we try to be very pragmatic about we have a business problem to solve, we have a business opportunity to seize, and a lot of those are driven by workflows, like as Andy had mentioned, very much a process driven type of industry. And let's talk about what are the the parts of of those workflows where this technology could be applied very successfully to drive efficiencies, to drive different results, and even to help people see new opportunities for services and products, or to speed up how they come up with new products and services. So I think it's very much, I think it's maybe in summary, it's very much about mixing, like maintaining a good balance of the opportunity, but making sure that you have the house in order, and that you have enough knowledge about how to properly manage any of the risks and concerns that come with the technology and with something new.
That's a really good point. Andy, from say an insurance industry executive's point of view, what should they be concerned about as they implement this technology?
Well, what they are concerned about is missing out. Nobody wants to miss out on the opportunity and then get behind. They're also concerned about just what Celia said, regulation. It's already easy for the industry to outpace the regulators, so you don't want to outpace them to the extent that you can't utilize what you built. The second thing is what we've already talked about. They want to make sure that there's stability in their operations, that they're risk-free operations, and that they continue to do what they've always done and make decisions, that human-based decisions that are accurate and fair and correct for their customers. So those are all very important. I really loved what Celia said about AI being part of the workflow. We fundamentally believe that AI needs to be where the work is done. It has to be part of your workflows. We can talk a lot of things about AI, but AI at the end of the day is a work tool. It accomplishes tasks. It extends our efficiency. It extends our capabilities as humans to use our decision-making process in places where we're very mundane and very routine, and then AI can come in. So I think the way that insurance is going to overcome some of this is exactly that. They're going to incorporate AI into their core processes, and it's going to make their workflows much more efficient. And that will remove the risk. It will remove the regulatory risk, the business risk, and it will ensure stability. And it will also make sure that you continue to have oversight from people that have been doing this for a long, long time. So there are some clear risks, but you can't be left out in the cold. You've got to keep up with the industry, and you've got to let AI be where the work is done. Those are very, very critical.
Good point. And Celia, you've already touched on this, but what are some of the biggest misconceptions about AI capabilities today?
Yeah, one thing that is very interesting is that so if I go back, maybe 4 years ago, as I was having conversations with clients about AI, there was in some ways so much almost convincing, like, okay, this is really an opportunity you should be looking at. And I have seen a little bit of a shift, in that spectrum, where in some of the conversations I'm having today, there's almost this AI is magic type of perception, which then it requires another type of maybe education and awareness type of conversation. So that tends to be framed as, well, why can't we just feed the AI everything we have done, all the files, or all of our history, and then it's gonna magically learn how to do it and just do it, right? So there's a risk of oversimplification of what the technology can do and how it should be applied successfully, if you think that way. I think it is definitely true that AI will learn from the past, especially if you think about traditional AI and machine learning. But there's a number of conditions that need to be true for that to happen. So there's an effort in data quality, data preparation, model training, integration with different systems, and understanding of where are we going to expose this? So let's say, like in the low code, going back to the low code discussion, in the process orchestration discussion, like in many cases, our insurance clients are using, the low code platforms to be the place where they build some of those workflows that can be differentiating, right, for them. So you still need to understand, where you're going to be plugging in this new AI solution or this new AI service, to make sure that that it's not just that you don't stop at the POC. That I think the way AI tends to I would say that the life cycle of development tends to start with a POC and a better understanding of, okay, is this going to work for us? But you have to have a path to production, a path to operationalization, and understanding of where that's going to fit in your workflow. And I would say that a fundamental trust that once it gets placed in production and as part of your workflow, that you have, that you have a solid strategy for how data comes in, how data is maintained with quality, and that it is a robust, pipeline and a robust service that is not going to, to damage the overall, let's say, the service level that you can provide. So I'd say that would be, I think, the primary one. It's like it's not magic. It is technology. Then there are very well understood steps on how you make technology robust and safe and incorporate it as part of your operations. The other one that's very common, I would say, is that AI is going to take over, right, and replace humanity entirely, which I tend not to believe in. I think it is a tool. It is an amazing tool, and there's not going to be a choice. I think in the future, I like to say that we may not be talking about AI necessarily. These are going to be tools, smart tools, like, they're going to be features that we expect in our systems and in our software solutions, and that will greatly change how we work, but not and maybe change jobs, certain jobs, but not necessarily replace us entirely, because there are I think it's there are things that we're still, better as humans, better suited to do. And sometimes this conversation about replacing humans can almost be a detractor of the actual, safe adoption of the technology and seizing the opportunity that the level of automation and of manual tasks that we could be doing with this technology can really offer.
That's a really good point. And Andy, I think what she's saying is that we're still going to have underwriters and claims adjusters.
Yeah, 100%. And AI is really going to be a tool to help them be more efficient, to help expand their knowledge, and to help bring more tools to their fingertips when they're making decisions, so they can make better decisions faster. Just building on what Celia was talking about with some of the misconceptions, clearly there's the camp of people that thinks AI is magic. And also there's a camp of people that thinks that AI is very difficult to implement. And so they want to do it in a silo, and they want to fully understand it from soup to nuts before they even start to incorporate it into their processes. With a system like Appian, it's drag and drop. You can have an AI skill put into your process, within minutes, as you have the capability in Appian. And so then again, it's taking AI into the workflow. It removes this kind of nebulous concept of what's AI and how's it taking over, and it brings real structure, real guardrails, and real capabilities that can happen. I mean, just right there. I mean, you can have a submission ingestion process that's using email and all sorts of different attachments and portals and these types of things, and you can replace that entire process, which is not a high value process that requires a lot of human touch, and you can replace it with an AI skill that will ingest summarize, extract all the important information, set up your quote, and in your system, and have the underwriter not do non-underwriting activities and be core to what they want to do. So again, it doesn't have to be crazy complicated. You don't have to write your own models. You don't have to do so many things. We can help you deploy AI very quickly, very safely, and transform your operations rapidly.
And Andy, I understand you have some real world examples of how low code and AI are being used to transform workflows. Could you share those?
Yeah, so I mean, I just gave one with document ingestion. We've got customers that are ingesting information from brokers. We have one in a country that's not in the United States where brokers don't have a standard Accord form, and they are bringing documents come from 600 different brokers in 600 different formats. And some intake and submission of policy or of a quote was taking a long time. And with an AI skill that's built with upwards of 97, 98% accuracy, all the different formats of submission are now ingested through a singular AI tool. It's removing the human from that opportunity, and it's allowing them to get to work. We also have some life insurance customers that use this on complex document summarization. Think of like an attending physician statement in a life insurance scenario. An attending physician statement can have all of your medical history there. For a guy like me, it could be hundreds of pages long. And so if I'm a life insurance underwriter and I'm going through and trying to understand what coverage should I afford, what price should I give, I might have to look over hundreds of pages, and that can take me hours and even days to really understand where it's, in mere seconds now, AI can read the document, tell you everything you need to know, extract the relevant pieces of information. And as a highly paid underwriter with great decision-making skills, I no longer have to be a document reader. Because we have tools that can take care of that. So those are a few of the ways. It's helping in claims, underwriting, regulatory, and your compliance and regulatory scenarios. Like almost any place where you have a really good, a complex workflow, there's going to be a place for AI to help and make it more efficient.
That's pretty impressive. So insurance companies often struggle with balancing speed and innovation with risk management. What are the best strategies for striking that balance? Andy?
Yeah, that's another good question. And I think the answer comes down to utilizing tools that help you to innovate safely and that can do it, that you can rapidly prototype and you can rapidly put things in market that don't have to transform your entire operation overnight. Again, I talked about like the low code wrap and augment, wrap and replace kind of a scenario where when I've got this agility layer and orchestration layer that sits on top of my core, I can do all of my innovation very safely in that agility layer, in that orchestration layer. I can prototype, build MVPs, deploy very, very fast, and I can still keep my core systems in place. I can still keep my business safe and risk-free while implementing and trying lots of different technologies, lots of different innovations. And I think that's one good way to balance the speed and then the capabilities is try to make sure that you're doing it a little bit separately, but also in an environment where you can then deploy very, very rapidly once you understand that you're doing all the right things with your innovation.
Excellent. Celia, what are your thoughts on striking that balance?
I mean, part of what Andy said there is very true. So I think these technologies provide like a new way of implementing and adopting innovation, right? So it is not uncommon for us to get into conversations with clients, and historically they would have used more of like what's called like a waterfall type of approach to technology implementation projects, and we do a bit of that education around what an agile type of approach could look like. So the fact that you have to almost, accept that there's going to be more of that iterative development, like an understanding of requirements, but like a multidisciplinary team that has your business, has your, maybe data experts, IT, data science, regulatory, compliance, and that you're going to agree to have this almost like multiple releases, and in a way that you start to adopt technology without waiting, for several years until you see it, and maybe it doesn't really meet your expectations. So I think this type of the fact that that these platforms have all the building blocks there that allow you to build fast, I think forces clients and insurance clients to also need to adjust a little bit how they work and how they approach these projects to more fully take advantage of the pace in which innovation can reach operations.
So, Celia, given the highly regulated nature of insurance, how should organizations ensure that AI is being used safely and ethically, and also while maintaining compliance with regulators?
That's a fantastic question. So I think, Andy talked about being careful not to outpace, right? The industry not outpace regulations. One thing that I always like to say is that there's a lot of talk now about AI governance, but AI governance starts with data governance, and we have known what data governance should look like, for a very long time. So there are what's called the responsible AI principles, and they, different organizations will probably have different principles, but there's a common set of principles that you'll hear over and over, and things like privacy and security, safety, for example, are these are principles and ways of being and ways of approaching data that we have known and should be applying for a very long time, right? So it may be not just the regulated industries, even more so, because there's a regulatory compliance behind it. But for the most part, we're all industries should be bound by some of those principles. So you need to collect data for the purposes that and that you're going to use data for the purposes you collected it for. Make sure that data is safe and secure at rest and in transit, and that that you're protecting from injection of malware and cybersecurity and all of those things. I think let's say new facets that have come up as we talk about AI governance are things like transparency and or fairness. So transparency, for example, will dictate that one, I think in some ways, if you're using models to drive decisions, there may be a requirement for people to know that I may not be opposed to know that I'm talking to an AI, but may not be opposed to interact with an AI, but I may want to know that I'm interacting with with a bot that's not a human, right? So that also applies to the methods that you use to build models. So in some cases, the more, let's say, the more complex machine learning models, they are less explainable. So you may want to choose the techniques that are going to be more explainable and therefore allow you to provide more transparency in how a model came up with a decision. And I would say that the other facet that I would say more unique as we talk about responsible AI and AI governance is fairness. And that's so in many cases as humans we have created a history of data that is essentially biased, right? So how do we knowing that that's the case, we just need to approach it with the proper techniques, both business techniques, but also I would say in model development techniques that are going to allow us to and those exist. This is not rocket science or something that that's going to be invented. Like some of those techniques have definitely existed for a very long time. You just need to be able to adopt those and insert those as part of your methodology to make sure that you're watching for where bias is in place. Just an example that I like to use that I think tends to resonate is that things such as a postal code, a zip code, for example, may not. It's like just like a very benign, a data point, but depending on how it's used to build an AI model, it may introduce bias into the decisions that model is going to be driving. So it is like I'd say establishing that all the layers that you need, awareness at the executive level, awareness in the business, proper training for your for your technical staff to make sure that all the conditions are in place. I mean, one thing that Andy said before is very true. When you work with partners that are doing this, I'd say in a larger scale, be it the platform like Appian, be service providers, then you're automatically mitigating the risk because of some of those protections would already be embedded, right, as part of the development. So I think it's very much like they say, take a structured approach to treating data governance and AI governance in such a way that you're doing AI responsibly.
And if you don't mind me jumping in on that, I agree with everything Celia said. And to bring it home, when AI becomes part of your process, you introduce AI into a scenario where there's already rails, there's already visibility and transparency in a process, there's already auditability in the process. You remove a lot of the regulatory risk. You remove a lot of the opportunity for someone to cry foul on that, because it's simply augmenting what's already happening. It's doing certain things that are already happening faster, more efficiently, with greater transparency, greater auditability, and I agree with Celia on data governance. That's the key for an organization at the highest levels, and good, clean data. But when you have those things in place and then you incorporate via a process, AI is not scary. It's not so far future facing that you have to think about how you're going to deploy 10 years from now. It's here now, and it can be built, it can be deployed in a very, very safe way.
Excellent. So let's pull out our crystal balls, and what does the next 3 to 5 years look like for the insurance industry? And what advice would you give to organizations looking to modernize their workflows? Andy, you want to lead off?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I watched the Jetsons, and I think the Jetsons, wasn't it like a 2025, 2027 type of a year? We're not there. We're not flying around making funny noises.
We're in the flying cars. Yeah, exactly.
So when you think 3 to 5 years, what we're seeing with the industry is we're just seeing progression going forward. We're seeing more AI being involved to make humans, to make our jobs easier, to make our jobs more attractive. One very important thing in the insurance industry is we have an aging population. We have people that have been underwriters for 30 years, 40 years, and replacing a 30-year underwriter with somebody without that knowledge is very complicated. AI can make that happen. It can make that transition smooth. That can bring a lot of you can't replace expertise, but you can give somebody a lot of data right at their fingertips when they need to make the decision, and you can help them be a lot more efficient. So, there's going to be a tremendous amount of data that insurance companies continue to collect, and AI is going to help them over the next 3 to 5 years to understand how to use it. Telematics is an example. Terabytes and terabytes of data come off of a vehicle on a daily basis. How do you work with it? Connected homes, connected cities, these are all things that are coming to fruition more and more, and there's going to just be more and more information that comes at us. So the industry is going to continue to progress forward, continue to implement and adopt new technologies that will help us be there, but it's going to look very similar with a lot of helpers along the way. And that's what we really want to help our insurance customers feel, is that we can help them get into that future state where all this data is not overwhelming. It simply augments their business and makes better underwriting decisions, and makes their organizations bulletproof for the future.
Celia?
Yeah, I love what you said there, and because the point is the industry is changing, right? So so adopting technology and modernizing workflows, okay, is almost like is not an option. Okay, the best day to start is really to, if you haven't started, best day is today for you to start. So there's to the point around talent. I mean, some of the things that we hear from our clients is that as they are onboarding new talent, there's an expectation from that talent that they're going to be working with modern technology, modern platforms, and an expectation that what they're using there, let's say in their consumer life, that they'll find, in their enterprise environment. So that by design is going to shift what technology needs to look like and how workflows need to be processed in insurance. But the data, I think another one that I would add, and it is probably climate change and how that's impacting insurance and the necessity for you to really be able to consume large amounts of data of many different types, and how hard that would be for a human, to properly consume and process all of that data without without having the help from a technology like AI. So I would say that there's going to be additional pressure for for underwriters, for example, and claims adjusters, and then all of those professionals to be able to be driving decisions that are even more complex. So it is very important that they start to use these tools to maybe to get those parts of the process that are neither very exciting but also very time consuming today, so that time can be spent in the areas that will drive the most ROI and drive better decisions and better customer service at the end, because again, I think it's almost like it's a necessity. It's like I don't know that it's necessarily again an option anymore. I think it's really exciting to know that that the technology is there, that we're ready, right? And for to be able to meet the needs of the industry. So I think the use cases will become more and more interesting, and I think as people start to tell the stories, right? So I think anytime that we are, let's say, on stage, or that a client is having a conversation with another client, you can see the excitement and the belief, I think, growing. So as I'm fairly excited about what the future holds as we match what's the change in the industry with I would say with the incredible pace that technology is evolving to be able to meet the needs of the changing industry.
Well said, Celia, and Andy as well. Yes, changes are ahead for sure. This has been great. While you were speaking, we've gotten some questions in from our attendees. We're running a little short of time here, but we'll try and get to what we can. Just a reminder to our attendees, if you have questions for our speakers, you're welcome to submit them through the chat. If we can't get to them today, we'll be sure to follow up with you as quickly as possible. So our first question, what are some of the best practices for integration of AI with legacy systems that might not be equipped to handle advanced AI tools? Andy, sounds like a question for you.
Yeah, and the best practices are, using a platform similar to Appian that sits on top of your legacy systems, where all the work can happen, the workflows, the processes can happen there in that platform. It can interact with your legacy system, but you don't have to build it within your legacy system. Building them within your legacy system can cost a ton of money and can incorporate a lot of risk. But building it in a platform on top of that communicates with is as a best practice for sure, and helps you to seamlessly and smoothly integrate technologies like AI into your organization, and kind of future-proof the systems that you have in place today.
Excellent. And Celia, looks like a follow-up to one of your responses. How do you ensure AI models are not biased, especially when working with historical data that may have inherent biases? Good question.
Yeah, I think very much, in line with what we had talked about before. I think it is there is like a layered approach. So you have to be aware of which principles you are applying, right? And fairness being one of those. Understanding what fairness means for the specific use case that you are building models for. Then going down to the data and and applying the proper techniques as you build the models to make sure that in some cases it may mean that you need to remove certain things or be able to transform, massage, certain pieces of data so that they don't introduce or what's called features, so that they don't introduce bias into the model, and all the way to an audit process as well. So you want to be watching. I think one thing that that is said about AI models is that they're living beings, right? So as data changes, as data, we call it data drifts, the real world happens and data may change. So a model needs to be constantly monitored so that you understand, if it is continuing to behave in the manner that it was originally built for and evaluated for, and that you address it accordingly. So that could lead to the need for retraining, models as as data drifts and as data changes. So it's like, I think it's a structured. It's like it's as long if you have that structured approach all the way from the business layer and to the technical layer, and then that you maintain like the proper monitoring of those models. Those are things that can be addressed.
Excellent. Well, that's all we've got time for. I want to thank you. This has been a great discussion. It's really insightful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also want to thank all of our attendees out there for taking time out of your day to attend this session on insurance process orchestration with AI and automation. We hope to see you at one of our upcoming events. For Information Security Media Group, I'm Cal Harrison.